allow me to introduce Miss Anya Lim. Anya is the co-founder as well as the creative and managing director of ANTHILL Fabric Gallery, a social enterprise preserving traditional weaving in the Philippines. Yeah. So maybe we can dig a little bit deeper into that, because I think one of the challenges that we have discovered through the ASEAN-Wise Fellowship Program is that many of the community-based enterprises in the program extend flexible working arrangements to their community partners and to the women that are both caregiving as well as working. So perhaps, Anya, I can turn this question over to you. I'm thinking about the video that you shared with us earlier. And I know that I've actually had the privilege of working quite closely with you throughout the WISE program, and it's been quite a joy. And I see how hard you and your team work to extend those flexible work arrangements to your community partners. Can you share a little bit more about how you do that, and perhaps some of the advantages as well as the disadvantages of this?
Thank you, Maddie. I think for us, it was really inevitable because the way ANTHILL works is we partner with over 15 community-based enterprises across the country. So geographically, they're spread out all over the 7,101 islands. So it was really a desire of the artisans to be able to actually work at the comforts of their own homes. So before any of us were working from home, they were already doing it. When it's always been very participatory with us, and they expressed that it's important for them that before they are weavers, they are mothers first. So we wanted to honor that as well. In some communities that are larger, we do have weaving centers, and some we have helped support them establish a weaving center, but most actually weave in their homes and use their own antique looms from their ancestors. And we allow this because we want to be able to provide enabling environments that will actually support them on how they can become better mothers. Some of the advantages are, I'll probably cite three. One, they feel they're able to better manage their household, and they're also better able to manage their chores. For some also, second is their presence in the household encourage support from their partners and their husbands. Because they're present in the family, their husbands appreciate them being able to add in the income, but also still be present in the household. Also, for those who have kids, especially like in their teens or even like in their developmental years, like early on, they're already able to expose the children in weaving, right? And that's actually how masters and apprentices learn. They learn from observing. So from them working at home, children already appreciate the craft and already start to learn how to weave. Third also is they're able to save on costs, travel costs. They're also able to manage their own time. And it's also an advantage for mothers to be present for their family. It doesn't disrupt family dynamics. And some actually feel they're more productive because they're able to work and weave after they're done with the household. But at the same time, this is also has a lot of disadvantages. Like for one, because like us working from home also this past 2 years, there's no structure, right? Like there's a lot of distractions and interruption, and the lack of structure of a 9 to 5 work hours also affects their level of productivity. So when their productivity is low, their level of income is also low. And that inconsistency in terms of their income gives them difficulty in budgeting their finances for a month. So it also affects their way of life or their way of living. And also, second is the standardization and quality of the output also can be compromised because you don't have a community manager overseeing the quality of the production or the weave. And so sometimes they end up with rejects and having to redo it again. There's no leadership and governance structure when you are working within the household, right? But the way we've set up the business model and the way we support our communities is we also have someone going around doing household visits to support these mothers at home. But these are just some of the advantages and disadvantages that a flexible work arrangement has when it comes to community-based enterprises and with artisans working from home.
Thank you, Anya. So maybe, Anya, I can turn this last question over to you because I'm mindful of our time. And I remember when we were on a call recently, you and I were going through your spreadsheet of impact metrics. And we were looking at that maybe with Allison at one point too. And I recall that ANTHILL Fabric Gallery has upcycled nearly 6,000 kilos of fabric to date. Can you talk a little bit about your upcycling program? This was something that Nindya and Fitria mentioned as well. And just kind of how you were able to make that possible at ANTHILL.
Yes, thank you, Maddie. Our reason for also being mindful of the way we impact the environment is very similar to Fitria's reflection and insights. We value so much the process that goes behind weaving. Our ancestors considered our fabrics our second skin. And so every thread really has a significant value and represents our identity and our story as Filipinos, right? So through the years, we have been very mindful of the waste and the offcuts and end cuts from production that we accumulate. And then I think it was around 2016, we realized we had sacks and sacks of scrap fabrics from production. And we were starting to think and brainstorm on how else we can upcycle and add value to these scraps in a bigger way, in a way where we can actually scale it, right? Because we can come up with those small products, but we don't know like its functionality. And so we were very fortunate to have had a textile designer collaborate and co-design with one of our weaving partners here in Cebu to experiment on how they can actually use scrap fabrics like from your t-shirts, old clothes, and how we can incorporate them into our weaves and create a new fabric. So from there, that was actually the birth of our circularity programs. We then experimented on weaving what we call our zero waste fabrics. So basically, these are your old clothes and old scrap fabrics. We cut them into strips and we use them as supplementary weft and weave them into a new fabric. In fact, a huge retail brand in the Philippines was very drawn to the work that we do and really appreciated the environmental impact, plus the economic and cultural impact that we create with our partner. So they ship tons and tons of textile waste that could have been in a dump site, and we were able to upcycle them into new fabrics. And then from those fabrics, they launched a new clothing line. So we're able to extend the life cycle of these fabrics, of these weaves. They're not made of natural fiber, but in the process of extending the life cycle, we're still able to create an impact in the environment. So that's one. Apart from that, we also look at consumption, right? Responsible production and consumption as part of the UNDG goals. And we see our community of customers, being very supportive of the designs of the clothes that we carry. So they own several skirts, several blouses, and their closets are full of ANTHILL designs. But then later on down the line, you either outgrow the design or you gain weight, you lose weight, and what do you do with those clothes, right? So from that insight, we launched what we call a weave exchange program, where our customers can actually return their old clothes. In exchange, we evaluate it and we give them a gift card that they can give to friends or they can use also to purchase a new design. Lastly, because of the old clothes that we get from our customers, we launched what we call our reweave line. It's our pre-loved line, but we call it our always loved line, where customers can purchase our designs and our weaves at a more accessible price. We have young customers like students. I mean, obviously, it's not it's not very cheap. I mean, we value and advocate for fair wage. So the prices of our fabrics sometimes are not accessible to students, but we want to gain we wearers from them. And so this always loved line, or this reweave line, makes it accessible for customers to a wider to actually reach a wider market, to access a wider market. So these three programs are very replicable, and they truly allow us to be able to educate the consumers to be mindful of consumption and to find ways how to add value and upcycle and extend the life of their clothes and of their fabrics.
I love that. Thank you, Anya. And I see you're wearing one of your products right now, aren't you? Yes, it looks lovely.
Yes, I am proudly wearing one of our weaves. This is a traditional Filipiniana blouse with a butterfly sleeve. Thanks, Maddie.
Lovely.